Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Hebrew News Network. Today is January 6, 2026, and here we try to give you understanding on current events through a biblical lens. I'm sure most of us are aware of the different things that have taken place this week or last week pertaining to Trump and Venezuela. Good evening. Sure. Like I said, most of us should be familiar with what took place earlier. Well, last week, specifically speaking, Saturday morning, I got up and seen that Trump had actually conquered the president of Venezuela. And I know that that may seem, like something big as far as prophecy is concerned. Um, and also, in addition to that, uh, Cuba, not Cuba, but China and Russia, they're also behind the scenes pertaining to that matter, advising Trump to let the president go. But at the same time, like we spoke about over the past few weeks, that mainly the Gentiles are running everything. And that's what I wanted to open up with this evening. Our topic today pertaining to news is wars and rumors of wars. So in Matthew 24, the Lord warned us about this, and it's very important for us to pay that attention because as we move toward the end of the world, we'll see more and more events like this taking off as far as different wars and stuff like that. So Matthew 24 and verse 5, and today my partner, my son, he is not here this afternoon. Him and his wife went on a date. They planned it some months ago, so I'll be holding it down this evening. But in Matthew 24 in verse 4, pertaining to the Lord's second coming, Jesus warned us about things specifically for us to look out for. So in verse 4 it says, "And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled." So that's one thing, like I said, we want to kind of bring you understanding on events that are going on through a biblical lens, coming from the Bible, in other words, because for some reason I just can't get that word out. So through the lens of the Bible, in other words, we want to bring understanding on things that are going on. Every time we get a skirmish or something, as far as wars and even rumors of wars, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the end all be all. But definitely you want to pay attention to it. But the Lord did tell us something which is very key. In the middle of verse 6, he said, "For all these things must come to pass." Before he said that, though, he did say, "See that you be not troubled." So, so as we see all these different events going on around us, just make sure that we just keep our head on the swivel, stay prayed up in the word of God. And if we have our faith in the Lord will bring us through these troublous times that are approaching. I did want to start off by showing an article here. Uh, as you can see, let me make sure it's nice and clear for you guys. Okay. See if I can open it up. All right. So as you can see from the headline here, Trump tells Mexico he's coming for them next as U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon spy plane conducts surveillance and reconnaissance missions over Tijuana, and that's Tijuana, Mexico. So my purpose in showing that is because I want people to understand we're going to go also to Jeremiah 27. Most people in the world, they kind of look at situations like this and wonder, why does America always have to get inside these type of conflicts? Why do we always have to intervene and stuff? And when I say we, I'm just talking about as far as us, being citizens here. But ultimately, we know who's in control. But people may not understand that the Lord has given the power to run the whole world, or rulership. He has given this into the hands of the Gentiles. At any time, if the Gentile decides that they want to take what belongs to them, they have every right to do that. And I'm gonna show you according to the Bible what the Lord says about this. But until then, let me just read the article here. And once again, the headlines: after launching a military strike on Venezuela, conqueror Trump now has U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon spy planes circling over Mexico. Now, I don't know if you all remember, right before, right, I think right when Trump came in, he started introducing tariffs, which is a tax on income and goods, right? And like for example, if you want to do business inside of this country, um, we're being charged a certain amount when our goods go out to other countries. They tax Americans, right? So Trump came in office and said, "Well, since you guys are mainly busting our head, we're gonna start busting your head," and that's really what it is. You can call it a tax, you can call it a tariff, but when you're doing business inside the country here, imported goods that are coming in, it's a tax on top of it. So, for example, if it costs $2 to produce, coming into America, okay, not only is it going to cost, whatever markup price it is. Like, say, for example, if it's $2 to produce, they sell it for $4. And that's just the going rate for that particular item. But as it comes into America, Trump has it set up now. He's going to add additional tax on top of the actual cost. So that's where the tariffs come in. And mainly, from what he was saying, that's almost like a retaliation for them charging us a lot when our goods go out in other countries. So during that time, when all the tariff talk was going on, the woman who's in charge of Mexico, she's running her mouth. She's running her mouth and talking a lot of noise, mainly to Trump, saying, mainly telling him to mind his own business. And I knew right then and there, like even all of them, they still family, but it's almost like, the Gentiles, they the big brothers, And when she was saying all that stuff, because Trump was making statements about them stopping drugs from coming in. If he don't do it, they don't shut down the cartels and stuff. He'll take care of it. So she mainly told him, just mind your business, stay out of America. Well, stay out of Mexico. But as you can see now, this don't look too good because he went over there and took Maduro out of Cuba, and that's to go to show you how much power these Gentiles have. They got power. They put people in position. If you don't do what they tell you to do, they come in and knock you out. Did the same thing with several individuals. Gaddafi, because these individuals over time, they kind of get a little beside themselves and think that since they've been running it for so long, they think that, it actually, the power belongs to them. Like I say all the time, though, the man who got the gun has the power. You can have all the money in the world, but the one who got the gun, that's the one who got the power. I can have millions and millions of dollars and somebody just walk around in my pocket, or I just say, like $100,000. I got credit cards in my wallet. All somebody got to do is walk up home and pull out the gun, and take what I got. So that's mainly what we have going on with the Gentiles. The Gentiles have the power from America being set up from Europe. That's an offshoot of Britain, you know what I'm saying? So set up by that all the way over to Russia, Iran, China, all of them. Look, they got the power. So in this case right here, it would be best just to do what they tell you to do. So like it says here on our, let's see, after conduction, it really should be conducting. They spelled it wrong. After conducting a military strike on Venezuela and capturing Maduro, Donald Trump has now set his sights on Colombia, Cuba, Canada, Greenland, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Brazil, Belize, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, the Bahamas, Mexico. Wow, Mexico may be next, as U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon spy planes have been conducting surveillance and reconnaissance missions over Tijuana. One of the questions I'm gonna skip down right here because they use this scripture out of context right here. They, I mean, it could fit him though. Like it says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And really, that's going to be the case. They use a good scripture that actually it goes pretty good, but that's going to be the case all the way down to the end. That's why the Lord warns about them crying peace, peace, and there is no peace, right? Or when they cry peace, just understand that on the back end is sudden destruction. So they going for the most part have that mindset all the way into the Lord return. And some people a lot of people being tricked by that because they think it's going to be peace, and it's going to be far away from that. We're far from that. One of the questions that comes to mind is, after exerting the will of the American government over some or all of the nations on its conquest list, what happens when some other nation or nation decides they now see America as a threat and come after us? The Danish prime minister has had enough of Trump's threat and said, if the United States decides to militarily attack another NATO country, then everything will stop. That includes NATO and therefore post-World War II security. No one with half a functioning brain thinks Trump is angling for peace, threatening Greenland, because he is coming from Greenland as well. That is a part of the UN. NATO. His imperialist appetite is readily seen by all. So this is just opinions on them. I just want to come and show here the mentality of Trump at this particular time. And let's go look at something else, and then we're going to look at scripture pertaining to this. Let's see here. All right. So as you can see right here, Trump on Air Force One, Cuba, Mexico, Colombia, Iran. President Trump made remarks in a single press gaggle aboard Air Force One Sunday night as he flew back to Washington from Florida. He spoke about a second strike upon Venezuela, then spoke more. Trump went on to speak about Venezuela. We are prepared to do a second strike. Reporter responds, but that's off the table now. Then Trump responds, it's not off the table. If they don't behave, we'll do a second strike. I mean, they got the power. Reporter responds, you said that her fate will be the same as Maduro's, if not worse, talking about the Venezuelan vice president. Trump responds, worse, much worse. Reporter, so you communicated with her by phone? Trump, not me, but my people, and consider that the same thing. So, and matter of fact, that's something very key right there, right? Because the Bible tells us that pertaining to the abomination of desolation, it talks about how arms going to stand on his part, right? In Matthew 24. But when you go to Daniel chapter 11, Daniel chapter 11 says arms going to stand on his part. In Matthew 24, it says, when you shall see the abomination of desolation standing, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, whoso read, let him understand. So when he say you see the abomination standing in the holy place, Jesus is he's not really talking about the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place at that particular time by himself at that time, right? Because what got to happen is, like, when you go to Daniel chapter 11, it says, an arm's going to stand on his part. So, for example, the arm is going to come in there and stop the daily sacrifice first, and then they're going to put him up, as the abomination of desolation. She's going to take over. But by the time he get in there to take over, it's too late to run. So what you got to pay attention to before they get to placing him as the abomination, you got to watch the armies that come in. Why? Because they're going to come stand on his part. They're going to come represent him. So what I'm reading now just brought that to mind when Trump said, not me, but my people, right? And he also turned right around and said, and consider that the same thing. Like, for example, if you ain't talking to me, you're talking to my people, right? But what do my people get it from? They get it from me. So likewise, when you see the abomination and desolation, when he's actually set up, then the great tribulation going to start. But you're going to have the army come in there first. They're going to stand on his behalf. But when you see them come in there and stand on his behalf, it's time for you to get out of there, because you got 30 days left before the great tribulation actually jumps off. So I'm just kind of, pointing that out, showing you how the armies represent him and whatever he said. If they tell him to go say this, and you defy the army, really you defy the one who gave the order. You understand? That's just like if you would make the angel upset, the Lord going to allow him to tear you up. Why? Because God gave you the order. So he coming representing the power. So he says here, can you clarify your position? Reporter says, can you clarify your position on Delcy Rodriguez? Trump, I'm not obliged to report to you. I'll just say that her situation might even be worse than Maduro's. And Maduro surrendered immediately. He raised his hands and surrendered, and he did the right thing by surrendering. We acted quickly and effectively and harshly, very harshly. That's why he just immediately raised his hands and surrendered. Want to show you who's next, guys. Cuba is ready to fall. They got all their money from Venezuela. It's going down. This is what Trump is saying. Reporter, are you considering U.S. action in Cuba? Trump, I just think it's going to fall. It is going down for the count. You ever watch a fight? They go down for the count. Cuba looked like it's going down. This guy's something else. Next, Mexico. Trump, you have something to do with Mexico. Mexico has to get their act together because they're pouring through Mexico, and we're going to have to do something. We love Mexico. We love Mexico to do it. Like, in other words, he's saying we don't want to come in there and have to deal with these cartels. We like for Mexico to do it, right? However, that's a bunch of fluff because he want to get in there. The Gentiles finna take back what belonged to them. They're capable of doing it, but unfortunately, the cartels are very strong in Mexico. Colombia is the next place on his agenda. Colombia is also very sick, and at the helm there is a sick man who likes to smuggle cocaine and sell it in the USA. See, this is all under the guise of like he really care. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm somebody in 2020. I actually went out and voted for Trump. 2024, I ain't vote no more. I voted one time in my life. Last time I voted, I ain't never voting again. And but I was just, I've been new. It's they all in bed together. I'm not stupid to that at all. They all in bed together, just like wrestling. That's exactly, they eat together, just like lawyers and judges. They'll get in the courthouse and fight and go off on each other, and they'll be sitting there eating lunch together, eating dinner together, know each other's kids and stuff like that. But in front of us, they have to put on the show. So I understand that. I'm saying that because I don't want to make it seem like I'm disrespecting, the president, nothing like that, because I understand dealing with the word, we still got to give honor to whom honor is due. When the Lord get back, he gonna take these individuals down. That's why when Daniel being in captivity, he ain't disrespect the king and none of that. Joseph, he ain't disrespect the king. So, I understand who we are at the time, and I understand what the Lord has us to do. So, but some things I do disagree with. So when he says things, I take it as a grain of salt, because I know that there's no righteousness in these kings, you understand, that's running the world. So they'll say things to make it seem as if they really care, and they have a totally different agenda. It's called wagging the dog. We're going to do something in front of you, but behind your back, we wagging the dog. We just kind of selling you wolf tickets, in other words. Colombia is also very sick, and at the helm, there's a sick man who likes to smuggle cocaine and sell it in the USA. And let me note that he won't be able to do this for long. Reporter, what do you mean by not for long? Trump, I mean exactly that, not for long. He has the cocaine production there. Wow. But he won't be able to do this for long. They've been doing this forever. Why you care now? Reporter, are you hinting at an operation by American forces? And just so you know, we was behind COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO, then all the drug things that was coming in, we set all this stuff up. They set all this up. As far as I'm concerned, that sounds good. And you know why? Because he's killing a lot of people. So that's just an excuse to get inside that area. Iran is next. Excuse me. If Iran starts killing people as it did in the past, I believe the United States will hit it hard. So I think last week we brought up Netanyahu meeting with Trump regarding trying to get into Venezuela. Get into Iran. And it seems like, from what I understand, it's probably going to be a go. I was trying to go a little deeper and find it in this site I go to, but I didn't have enough time to subscribe to it, because I usually just do like a $5 monthly subscription on it, and I get access to some things that's going on behind the scenes, but I didn't have time to do it. But it was almost like a breaking alert that I saw saying that we they may have the green light to go ahead and attack. So once again, we seeing provocation. Keep on trying to come at this Iran. The other ones are small skirmishes, but dealing with Iran, one thing you have to understand about that is, you dealing with these powerful individuals that are in bed together, like Iran, China, Russia. These are big dogs. But they just keep on trying to mess with them, and eventually, like we know, the bear is going get up. But it's not going to be now. The Lord has everything kind of held back at the time. It will be, later on once the Lord get ready to return. But we just right now at the point seeing wars and rumors of wars. So Iran is on the table as well. So right now, from what we just saw, Venezuela is on the table, which he took that down. Cuba is also on the table. Mexico, Colombia, Iran is also on the table as well. Greenland is a part of the United Nations, or NATO, I should say, and they are definitely on the radar. So it says here, we need Greenland for national security, not because of mineral resources, that's why. We have a huge number of mineral deposits, oil, and everything else ourselves. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security. And if you look at it up and down this coast, you can see Russian and Chinese ships everywhere because, you eventually, like I say, they're going to have to deal with Russia. They kind of poking at them now. Trump, you know what Denmark did recently to boost up security on Greenland? They added one more dog sled. It's true. They thought that was a great move. But I don't want to talk about Greenland. Let's talk about Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine. And we'll take care of Greenland in about 2 months. Let's talk about Greenland in 2 days. This guy is off glass. So he goes on to give his analysis on that. I just wanted to kind of point that out. Not going to do analysis on it, but let me see if I can also show something else here. Let's see here. I would like to see if I can pull the Bible up. You know what? We'll just pull it up on. We'll pull it up on another browser, and let's see here. Let's just go look at Jeremiah 27. I have S1E4 on here. I don't like the way it opens up right now. So I'm gonna just go look at the Bible here, and I'm going to share. Let's see if I can share my screen with this. Shut this down first. And I want you all to see the power that the Lord has given the Gentiles. All right, so let's see, and we can pull it up. All right. Okay, give me 1 second here. Mm-hmm. Let's see what it do. No, probably okay. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So Jeremiah 27. Now this is at the time where Israel, finally got to the point where the Lord is getting ready to take them out because of the disobedience and what's about to happen now. So up until this time, Israel, well, not necessarily Israel themselves, but the sons of Shem are in power. So going from the sons of Ham down to Shem, our forefather, down to the sons of Japheth, that's how power transferred from one of the three sons. Like I say, starting off with Ham, then Shem, and Japheth. And right now we're up under Gentile rule, but this right here is the beginning of it, right? So now notice what the Lord is going to say to Jeremiah. It says in verse 1, in the beginning, let me see if I can make it a little bigger right quick. Okay, all right, Kent. In the beginning of the reign of Joachim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word unto Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus saith the Lord to me, make thee bonds and yokes and put them upon thy neck, and send them to the king of Edom, and to the king of Moab, and to the king of the Ammonites, and to the king of Tyrus, and to the king of Zidon, by the hand of the messengers which come to Jerusalem unto Zedekiah king of Judah. And command them to say unto their masters, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Thus shall you say to your masters, I made the earth, the man and the beast that are upon the ground, by my great power, and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet unto me. So in other words, the Lord done created everything, and he has given it over to mankind based on who he saw fit to give it to. And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant. So at this point here, it's almost like the Lord is just he right in the end of the story before it actually takes place. But he's letting Jeremiah know to let them know that, look, I'm finna pass it over to Nebuchadnezzar. And this right here is going to be the start of the Gentile dynasty. This is the start of, in a sense, for lack of better words, this is the start of the white man's rule. One thing we have to understand, just being people in society, period, especially when it comes to Israelites who don't know no better, we don't have the power to fight against the Gentiles as far as power is concerned, taking over the world and stuff like that. You have so many different people making statements about, taking land and getting our own stuff, to establishing our own land. Now, look, it sounds good, but at the end of the day, we dropped the ball. When we had an opportunity to rule, we messed up. So because of that, we are in subjection to the Gentiles. And not only us, but the Lord has given the world into the hand of the Gentiles, which we know is a white man, European, Asian, so on and so forth, right? So he says here, and now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve him. So even the animals, whatever it is, everything in the world, it belongs to the Gentile. And all nations, not some, and all nations shall serve him and his son and his son's son until the very time of his land come. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him. And it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord, with the sword and with the famine and with the pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand. So in other words, you got to come up under the hand of Nebuchadnezzar. That's the thing. You got to come up under the hand of Nebuchadnezzar. It don't matter whether you like it or not. Like I say, you have all these different talking heads, especially when it comes to the Israelite community, not in the truth, just black folks in general. People talk about the racism and all the different things that's going on with us and want to try to come together and thwart what's going on. But it can't happen because God is the one that's set all this stuff up. So when you see Trump go into Venezuela and take over like that, he got the power to do it. He got the power to do it. Last week we saw the different meetings that was going on between these powerful heads in these countries, how they came together, and you don't see small wigs there. All you see is big wigs, and people like us, we're not even on the radar. So for us, it just behooves us to serve the Lord. And even in our captivity, we just got to do what's necessary as far as serving God is concerned. He'll keep us from all this stuff that's going on. But like it says here, and all nations shall serve him and his son and his son's sons, because now the Gentiles are being set up to rule until the very time of his land come. And that's going to be when the Lord come back. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him. Then it says in verse 8, and it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord, with the sword and with the famine and with the pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand. So just want to kind of just kind of put out a reminder and show who's actually in power, why they can go out and do something like this. It may look strange. It may sound, people, complain about what he's doing, but The Lord gave him that power. The Lord gave the Gentiles that power. So, all right. So let's go look at one more something else here. Give me 1 second, and I'm gonna stop sharing this right quick. All right. So we saw that he's coming from Mexico. They're swirling. They're flying around that area now. In other news, let's see here. In other news, all right. So as we can see here, Elon Musk has lost control and plans to implant thousands of brain chips thanks to the large scale production of Neuralink technology. I thought this was important to bring out because this is not the mark of the beast. However, what is happening now, we are, it's like the roads being paved for the mark of the beast. I remember coming up, I can remember coming up, uh, being raised in the church and stuff like that, and hearing about the mark of the beast. And it just seemed like back then that it was I ain't gonna say a fairy tale. It's just hard to imagine that people would, you know, allow someone to put anything in their brain. The forehead, the right hand. Hard to imagine that. However, years later we're here where it's actually on the table. And these are the things that we have to pay attention to because whatever way whatever way it can be introduced for example, if it can be introduced in a way where it's acceptable, that's how it's going that's how it's going to soften up the hearts of people to allow these things to happen. Now once we get down to the very end, which we're going to read Revelation 13 here, once we get down to the very end, the case gonna be made against Israelites, people that follow our God as well. The case gonna be made just to take us out, and that's what's gonna catapult us into the great tribulation because of the doctrine that we preach, the lifestyle that we live in according to the word. That's gonna become a problem to the world, you know. Once we go off into great tribulation, now there's something that talks about in Revelation 13, talks about in order for you to buy and purchase, buy and sell and all that type of stuff, you're gonna have to have a mark in your right hand or in your forehead, which we're gonna look at. But just pay attention to the chatter now and how close we're getting to that. Like I say, this ain't it, but you can go back to 2020 and see that in 2020 they made it mandatory for you to have a mask on, going to the stores and stuff like that, and shutting down everything. And people mainly scared a lot of people, right? But at the same time, if you pay attention to what was done, you couldn't. It's almost like it was almost like it was a very light test run, very light test run, and a lot of people went along with it. You know, something else probably gonna come. Some else probably gonna come. I was gonna look into the super flu today, which is a virus going around. But I'm kind of watching that. I couldn't find enough information on it to really dig deep into it. But we are paying attention to that, you know what I'm saying? So once we get more information on that, we'll bring it to you all just to kind of prep y'all on what y'all need to do as far as paying attention to different things you can do to kind of protect yourself outside of serving God, I mean, serving God first and foremost, um, because if you're serving Him, the Lord will keep you. But at the same time, He do give us common sense, give us things that we can do to help our bodies, to protect our bodies from the different things that are being put out here. But ultimately, we got to pray and keep God's commandments because He's the ultimate healer and the ultimate killer. So in this right here, it says the proposal aims to expand the use of brain implants by 2026 with mass manufacturing and a more automated implantation method. Elon Musk wants to take brain chips from Neuralink to a new level starting from 2026 with large scale production. Why? Why large scale production? And an automated surgical procedure to implant the device. The change could accelerate the availability of the implant for patients with severe mobility and limitations as it involves both mass manufacturing and automation of the implantation process. So it'll be sold as far as like a, based on health. I believe last week we saw it, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a more in-depth look at this right here. Probably next week or the week after. Once Nate should be here next week, so we're gonna try to do a more in-depth look on the Neuralink to kind of really see what's going on. What's the real agenda behind it, right? However, on the forefront, put, what they'll kind of put out there is to make it seem like it's all about health. Now, this is good, right? People will be sold on that. We don't mind anything that has to do with health that can make things better for people. We all for it, right? However, you got to be mindful of that because that's what they'll use. They like to pull on the heartstrings of people and get them to become susceptible and accepting of what they're trying to push. What happened and why did it attract attention? Neuralink is one of the companies linked to Elon Musk, along with Tesla, SpaceX, X Corp, goodness gracious, among others, adding up more than 5 companies in its portfolio, right? So we're going to come down here. Now, the proposal is to begin a phase of mass production of brain chips in 2026 and move towards an automated surgery model. The topic is noteworthy because it deals with brain implants that provide a direct interface between mind and computer. Wow. Something that for a long time seemed far from real world use. And like I said, I would hear about it. My grandparents heard about it, and they gone now, but it never came into fruition. But just to see how, even like a 20-year time span, how things have like a switch came on and everything is just picking up now. So slowly it'll be introduced, and then next thing you know, it's gonna be all over the place. It's gonna be like commonplace, right? It's almost like when you went from spending cash to debit cards to credit cards, right? I remember going from cash to debit cards. We thought that might have been something to look at, but now look at debit cards. I mean, they're all over the place. Now you to the point where you really don't even need your debit card to make purchases. Why? Because all you need is your iPhone. You can take your phone, you can do Google Pay, you can do Apple Pay. You don't have to take a phone. I literally left my house last week without my wallet, right? And I wanted to go to Costco and pick up some items, and I didn't have my wallet. So, was it Costco? Yeah, I didn't have my wallet, and like I do with several places, if I don't have my wallet, I always got my phone, right? But I just went in there, filled out the paper or whatever, for me to be inside the Costco without my ID. They just give you a piece of paper. But still, when I had to purchase stuff, it's just my phone. I just got Apple on my phone. I just paid it and just and putting it across the thing like it's nothing. But 30 years ago, that's almost like it's almost like in a sense it's space age. That can never happen. But if you notice how it took place, we just slowly but gradually got to where we are now. And the crazy thing about it, like I was telling a few people we know, I remember I used to be so paranoid or so new world order mindset that I didn't even have navigation. How you got Google navigation and stuff like that before I got an iPhone. I didn't even have that. A friend of mine was like, "Man, you got to get your navigation set up, Nate." I was printing out paper, on Yahoo Maps, and I printed out and stuff like that, or I think it's called Maps or something like that. It's so old, I can't even remember it. But I would use the paper and follow those directions. He's like, "Man, you got to get your Google navigation set up." And I got it set up, and I say that now I rely on all this stuff, paying and stuff. I use my phone now, and sometimes when I even have customers that want to pay our company with cash, it's almost like I get an attitude. I try to get all our customers. We have, a substantial amount of clients, and I try to get all of them to either pay online or, Zelle or Cash App or whatever. It's crazy how I got to the point I don't even want to accept cash. Now I know what the mark of the beast is, but I'm just saying how they slowly got us to this point. So that's how it's going to be with this chip here. It's this implant here. It's gonna be something. This may not be it, but the simple fact that they're introducing it and talking about putting it in people's brains, and you talking about mass production and stuff like that, that lets me know that there's an appetite to accept stuff like this. So we have to be mindful of it and pay attention. It could be good for health, which we'll possibly see in the future. But at the same time, a lot of times when you're dealing with the Gentiles or people in power, there's always a separate agenda in the background that you have to watch out for. The attempt to implant the chip in humans faced regulatory hurdles for years, with the FDA preventing progress to human trials at different times. During this period, tests were conducted on animals, including demonstrations in which monkeys were able to play Pong using the mind. Wow, all they had to do was think about it and they can play Pong. The release for human use has occurred, and in 2024, the first human being with a microchip was seen. Neuralink, although problems arose after the milestone. Whoever wrote this article definitely don't understand their punctuations. How does brain machine interface work in practice? The central idea is to connect the brain to an interface that allows communication e device control using neural signals. In practice, this opens the way for tasks such as operating a computer and, with training, even playing video games, maintaining activities that many people believe they had lost after paralysis. The focus is on a very specific use aimed at those who have limited mobility and not a product for widespread consumption. Not yet, because a lot of people play video games. Now I know this is referring to those that are paralyzed and stuff like that, so they can think it. But just imagine if kids can have the ability just to think it. Just imagine like how things would change. Like for example, we are already inconvenienced by even having a key to open up your car. You know, like you get in the car, you just push a button now. You don't got to go through all that. You don't got to take a wallet no more. So just imagine how those things we never thought would be an inconvenience, how they have become an inconvenience for some. This is how it'll slowly transition over. Not saying it will, but I'm just saying, just something to pay attention to. What changes in practice for patients with severe paralysis? Neuralink operates in a niche market, but demand has reportedly grown to the point of justifying the transition to large scale production. I just don't understand that. In addition to manufacturing, the plan includes an automated procedure for the implantation of the chip, which indicates an attempt to standardize and accelerate the surgical step. The practical promise of this model is to reduce implementation bottlenecks since the process no longer depends solely on a traditional surgical workflow. What are the rules, deadlines, and conditions mentioned? The central landmark mentioned in 2026, the year projected for the start of large scale manufacturing and the adoption of the automated deployment method. There is also current adoption data. There are 12 patients in the world using brain chips from Neuralink, all with severe paralysis. In cases of chip failure, in one of the patients, it was reported that a correction was made by software updates, which keeps the issue of reliability in the spotlight. I would like to see something right here. Just kind of pull this up for a second. I'll pull up like a couple minutes of it. What could happen from now on? The proposed scale tends to place more pressure on safety, stability, and long term monitoring since future results are not yet known. The plan gains more context after the company raises the issue. $650 million dollars in the funding round in June 2025, reinforcing the ability to finance expansion. If the mass production and deployment, if the automated system progress is planned, Neuralink can expand the reach of the implant within population it already serves today. Yeah, pay attention to that, guys. The central point is that Elon Musk is aiming 2026 to scale up to Neuralink, combining mass manufacturing and automated surgery and chip implementation. With 12 patients already implemented and funding of $650 million, I guess to June 2025, the company is entering a phase where the impact can grow, but there are still natural doubts about long-term results. Let's go look at this right here. I'm going to look at one more thing on this. Oh, I was supposed to play that video, wasn't I? Let me see what this video says. Let's see what that video says, guys. Hold on one second. Let's see here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Conley. I'm the second participant in the Neuralink study, and I'm here to count us down to the demo. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the Neuralink presentation. This is an update for the progress of the Neuralink team. It's been an incredible amount of progress. This is, we're going to start off high level, generally describing what Neuralink's doing, and then we're going to have a very deep technical dive, so you can actually get an understanding of what exactly we're doing at a granular level and what we can do to enhance human capabilities and ultimately build a great future for humanity. So those are neurons firing. It's funny to think that me talking right now is a bunch of neurons firing that then result in speech that you hear and cause neurons to fire in your brain. Yeah, part of this presentation is about demystifying the brain. It is a remarkable organ. I mean, we are the brain, basically. When you say you, that really is you're the brain. Like you can get a heart transplant, you can get a kidney transplant, but I don't know anyone who's gotten a brain transplant. So you are your brain. And your experiences are these neurons firing with trillions of synapses that somehow lead to conscious comprehension of the world. This is something that we have only begun to understand. We're really just barely at the beginning of understanding of what is the nature of consciousness. And I've thought a lot about what is consciousness? Where does consciousness arise? Because if you start at the beginning of the universe, assuming physics is true, the standard model of physics is true, then you have this Big Bang, the matter condensing into stars, those stars exploding. A lot of the atoms that are in your body right now were once at the center of stars. Those stars exploded, recondensed. Fast forward 13.8 billion years, and here we are.
Wow.
And somewhere along that very long journey, to us at least, consciousness arose, or the molecules started talking to each other. And it begs the question of what is consciousness. Is everything conscious? Maybe. It's hard to say where along that line. There's no sort of discrete point where consciousness didn't exist and then suddenly does exist. It seems to be, maybe you have a condensation of matter that has a density of, like, we don't know what, the real answer is we don't know what consciousness is. But with Neuralink and the progress that the company's making, we'll begin to understand a lot more about consciousness. And what does it mean to be? Along the way, we're going to solve a lot of brain issues where the brains get injured or damaged in some way, or didn't develop in quite the right way. There's a lot of brain and spine injuries that we'll solve along the way. And I do want to emphasize that this is all going to happen quite slowly, meaning you'll see it coming. Sometimes people think that suddenly there will be vast numbers of Neuralinks all over the place. This is not going to be sudden. You'll be able to watch it happen, over the course of several years.
Several years.
And
I'm gonna. What do you mean?
And we go through exhaustive regulatory approvals. So this is not something that we're just doing, by ourselves without government.
Didn't we just read an article that said he's gonna mass produce because the society is ready for it? So I don't. Several years is not. That's not a lot of years. So that's almost like talking people off the ledge. Like, don't worry about it. It's not gonna be that bad. I'll give a couple more minutes on it. We'll get back to it. And I'm gonna also I also place a link in the description and also tell you what it is, so you can go back and check it out.
An oversight. We work closely with the regulators every step of the way. We're very cautious with the Neuralinks in humans. That's the reason we're not moving faster than we are, is because we're taking great care with each individual to make sure we never miss. And so far we haven't, and I hope that continues into the future. Every single one of our implants in humans is working, and working quite well. And you'll get to hear from some of the people that have received the implants and hear it in their words. So what we're creating here with a Neuralink device is a generalized input-output technology for the brain. So it's how do you get information into or out of the brain, and do so in a way that does not damage the brain or cause any negative side effects. So it's a very hard problem, and generally the reactions I've seen to this range from "it's impossible" to "it's already been done before." Those people should meet, actually. The reality is that there actually have been limited brain-to-computer interfaces for several decades on a very basic basis. Just what we're doing with Neuralink is dramatically increasing the bandwidth by many orders of magnitude. So a human bandwidth output is less than 1 bit per second over the course of a day. So there's 86,400 seconds in a day. It's very rare for a person to do more than 86,400 bits of output per day. You'd have to be really talking a lot or typing all day, and you might exceed that. So what we're talking about here is going from maybe 1 bit per second to ultimately megabits and then gigabits per second. And the ability to do consensual telepathy. Now, the input to the brain is much higher, especially because of vision. Depending upon how you count it, it might be on the order of a megabit or in the megabit range for input, primarily due to sight.
All right, so that's enough of that. Oh man, goodness gracious. So I would advise, just go check it out if you want to. It's Elon Musk plans large-scale production of Neuralink chips and automated surgery as early as 2026. So like I said, I'll put in a link. Let's go look at this right here, though. And then we're going to move on after this. Let's see here. All right, this is a Fox News article regarding the same thing. And let's see if we can actually see some type of mobility with it. Let's see. Let's come over a little bit. Okay. All right. You guys should be able to see that. Okay. Let's see here.
From print to e-file, all in one place. E-file my forms gets.
You got to get their money.
Click here to get started.
All right, let's see here.
I love playing chess, and so this is one of the things that y'all have enabled me to do. I had to use like a mouse stick and stuff, but now it's all being done with my brain. If y'all can see the cursor moving around the screen, that's all me, y'all.
So
It's pretty cool, huh?
Well, this is remarkable. The first human to receive a Neuralink computer brain implant, demonstrating how the device works. The company posted a live stream to X yesterday of the first patient showing off new skills, all powered by his mind.
For more on this, let's bring in Dr. Mark Siegel, Fox News medical contributor. Boy, this really is Star Wars stuff. And the patient, Nolan.
hold on, it's buffering.
Harbaugh said he felt like he was using the Force to move the cursor. But this is just in its infancy, and Elon Musk sees this going a long way. The patient is a quadriplegic. Since 2016, he was in a diving accident. He's been paralyzed. Elon Musk says long-term, it is possible to shunt the signals from the brain motor cortex past the damaged part of the spine to enable people to walk again and use their arms normally. Can you imagine, Doc?
Amazing, John. And also blind people to see again, paralyzed people to walk again, people with Parkinson's to move again, all by thought, projected thought from involving the motor cortex of the brain, which is deep in the left side of the brain. Now, this technology has been around since 2004, but let me show you the advances Musk is doing.
All right, so let me see here. So this is a recent article, right, where we're watching. But I just want you to see how, it'll be introduced through health. Everything is introduced a lot of times, especially when it comes to trying to push an agenda. A lot of times it's always introduced by way of health methods, right? So something like this, widely accepted across the board, and I can't say nothing wrong with it. Like, say, for example, you got somebody in your family that's dealing with paralysis and there's a way for them to get better, then what's wrong with that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't, they're not saying, and we know this isn't the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast itself it's going to be based on religion and who you serve. So not saying that this right here is that at all, but just pointing out the fact that they're going to they'll always find a way first and foremost to make it acceptable. But it's going to get down to a point where it's going to get down to like for example, it's going to get down to the point where you're going to be forced to have to make a choice, right? But the simple fact that this is being introduced now today is preparing the minds to even before you get down to wanting to take something in your hand or take a mark in your right hand or in your forehead. Before you get down to that, just understand and know that the technology got to be there, right? So what we're seeing technology advance to the point and getting us prepared for the end of the world. And see, when you start doing things like this right here, using it to heal people and stuff like that, to help with sight, to help with walking, when it comes time to take the mark to feed your family, people are going to be like, look, I mean, that's normal. They use that. They ain't nothing wrong with them. But this mark is going to be to control you. It's going to be to see who it is you're going to serve. God going to have a mark on his people. Satan going to have a mark on his people. And individuals going to make choices, as far as who they're going to serve by taking this mark or not.
With Neuralink here, first of all, it used to be a bunch of electrodes outside the brain. Now it's over 1,000 implanted inside the brain. John, there's a charging station where you walk under the charging station, wirelessly, the battery gets recharged. And as you saw, you projected out by Bluetooth technology, electromagnetic fields inside the brain, project these thoughts out. All 1,000 or 1,500 electrodes are concentrated on the idea of using thought for movement. That's where all this is going. Thought to provide movement, in this case, to move a cursor. People have said, well, what about that amount of radiation in the brain? It's very, very low level. And my argument would be this, in these cases like this, it's a huge advantage to do it.
Doctor, how could this be brought more to market? Obviously, this is just one person and it's an experiment. It looks like it's going very well. And I'm sure there are a lot of parents out there who are saying, maybe this could help my child or my loved one. What is the trajectory for this?
That's a great question. This is the first step. It had been done in primates. Now it's being done in humans. He has approval from the FDA for your Neuralink to proceed in a clinical trial. This is part of a clinical trial. Synchron is another company that's doing clinical trials, different technology, by the way, using blood vessels outside the brain. I'm on the side of Neuralink. I think this is incredibly advanced. And to answer your question, I think it's a matter of months to maybe a year or two before you start seeing this in clinical practice, but not in my doctor's office, Dana. That's years away. I'm talking about special uses for neurologists and neurosurgeons.
Wow, it really is amazing, amazing stuff. And if he can move a computer mouse already, imagine where we'll be 10 years from now.
Amazing.
Crazy. Doc, thanks so much.
I just want to say quickly, I just wanted the people out there to understand this is so believable, even though it sounds like science fiction, because you can project the thoughts with the same kind of radiation that the Neuralink has. It matches up. It's the same. Your brain is using electricity. Neuralink is using electricity. That's why this works.
Amazing.
Well, I've always wanted the ability to control people. Maybe that's not too far away. Thanks, Doc.
What the hell did he just say? Excuse me, y'all. What that fool just... Wait a minute. Did y'all hear what he just said? Did y'all hear what he just said? I always wondered about the ability to control people, because I was just saying that. That's what it's all about. Let's just go back. Let's just go back. Let's just go back and see and listen to what he just said. He said it jokingly. Isn't that crazy?
You got issues, John?
Neuralink is using electricity. That's why this works.
Amazing.
Well, I've always wanted the ability to control people. Maybe that's not too far away.
I've always wanted the ability to control people. Maybe that's not too far away. They said that at the end jokingly, but like I'm saying, these are the things we need to pay attention to. In addition to that, if they can put a chip in somebody's mind and they can think it, right? What do you think that they like for example, you can think something, your brain is in line with a computer, right? Lined up, matched up with a computer, and you can do things, you can think it, and the computer can do this and all that type of stuff. What do you think they can do as far as your thoughts are concerned? There's a it's almost I think it was a movie that came out, and it was, I can't remember what it was. I think Wesley Snipes was in it, but it was based on you would get locked up or go to jail based on your thoughts. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like they would predict crime before you did it. So now it's starting to make sense how they can predict the crime before you do it. Why? Because they'll put a chip in your brain, and if you think it, they already know what's going on. So mankind, in a sense, want to get in the realm of God, try to play God and stuff like that. If it's for health, it's understandable to a certain degree. But when you start getting off on all this type of stuff, and like the guy said jokingly at the end, I've always wanted to control people. Maybe this is, the beginning steps to it. So I just wanted to point that out. And we're going to look at something in the Bible. And then we have one more after this. And this will be it for this evening. So let me just stop sharing this right quick. So I wanted to go look at Revelation right quick. Revelation, and like I said, I know this isn't it. It's in the mark of the beast, but the simple fact that we having this conversation, man, is crazy. Let's see here. So let's go look at Revelation right quick. Revelation. I just came on here and got a Bible offline instead of opening up the Eastward. This, I just think that this type of stuff is super important, because all the different things that are going on in the world today, you have people on different sites and stuff like that, TikTok a lot, just arguing and fussing and stuff like that. And here it is, the people in power are setting things up to get ready for the abomination of desolation, getting ready for the end of the world. Wars being set up, getting ready for the end of the world. while at the same time, the Israelites are waking up. But all this has to, coincide together, and it'll put you in the mindset to let you know that we are in the latter part of the last days. So Revelation 13:9, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that lead into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killed with a sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. And behold, I heard another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. So in other words, because you got Rome coming up. Once Rome come up, they're not just going to come up as far as like, being in rulership and stuff like that, and everything going to be peaceful and all that type of stuff. Nah, Rome is coming up, and they're going to come up with an army, and they going to enforce whatever this beast is putting on the table. This army is going to enforce that, which is why it's saying here, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Because the first beast in this case is Rome the first time. Rome the first time came, they fell around in the 400s AD, and they didn't fall completely, because you still got Rome, mentally running things behind the scene, by way of religion. However, Rome is getting ready to come on back. That's why you can look at America. They're trying their best just to save it, trying to keep it up. But at the same time, it's nothing you can do now. The writing's already on the wall. The Lord is getting ready to return. America got to take a back seat, and Rome is on the way back up. And that's what it's saying here in verse 12, whose deadly wound was healed. Had a bad wound. It was dead, a bad wound. It was deadly, right? But it was healed. And he do a great wonder, so that he make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceive them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So if you don't worship the image of the beast, look, it's going to be a decree put out to kill. Kill those who would not bow down and worship this beast. Just the image alone. Notice what it said. And then he said he's going to give power. He had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Then it says, and he calls all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, right? So, and that's what we're kind of looking at today. Like I said, we're going to do a more in-depth link on the Neuralink and all the different things as far as the brain is concerned, what they're trying to do. And it's not, once again, it's not necessarily in relation to the mark of the beast, but we just kind of want you to hear some of the conversations, the mindset, or the mentality of why they really doing this. We're going to dig into it. Lord going to show us and dig into it and see what they're really thinking about, because it seems innocent on the surface. As a matter of fact, it could possibly be innocent on the surface. It can possibly do some things and help some people. But when you deal with mankind is, his mind is set on wickedly, period, continuously, right? So it's always an agenda. It can just be it can be a money agenda, which we know that's the case. It's a medical field, right? It's a pharmaceutical industry, right? So definitely money is involved. But this beast that's coming up, he got something on his mind. He got all the money anyway. He ain't even worried about that. He gonna have something else on his mind. But it says he calls all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save or except he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. This is 666. This is the mark that will represent this individual that's coming, like I say, coming out of Rome. And you're going to have a lot of people take that. They do it on Lent. When they do it on Lent, they put the mark in your right hand or they put it in your forehead. People don't need to pay no attention. And we talking about they just, just kind of do it with the ashes and stuff. They don't put nothing inside you. But it's an indication of where it's coming from. It's going to be coming out of the Roman Catholic Church, But notice what it says. And once again, you ain't going to be able to buy or sell except or save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So this sounds so far-fetched. This sounds as if this could never happen. How could we get to this? And now all of a sudden, guess what? It's almost like it's about to become commonplace. It's about to become normal for people to have these different types of things inside their brain. Guy said, one of them said, other guy said they were doing on the blood vessel, I believe, the vein or something like that. So, something to pay attention to. All right, our last one for this evening. Wanted to show this right here. This took place during New Year's for the world. Now, let me close this out right here. I'll remove this. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing this. Okay, there we go. Close this out. Now we're going to get to our last one for the day. Close out these windows right quick. All right, here we go. Share this screen right here. All right. Okay, so now, just wanted to point this out right here. So it says the New Year's Eve drone show in Brazil promised you Jesus Christ, but delivered Antichrist coming up from the sea in Revelation 13. On New Year's Eve in Brazil, a massive drone display over the ocean formed the image of Christ, the Redeemer, hovering above the sea before a vast multinational crowd. To most people watching, it was just another impressive display of modern technology blended with religious symbolism. But the imagery was unsettling for one simple reason. In the Bible, the true Jesus Christ never rises from the sea. That's what Antichrist would do. And then on top of that, look, this is not the right image anyway. But just the simple fact they do stuff like this here just kind of show you that people's minds are susceptible for anything. So let's look at this right quick. Wow. So speaking of that right there, I'm stop sharing that. So I just want to read one scripture on this right here. And this will be it for this evening. So 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 10. Well, verse 9. Well, verse 7. It says, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all powers and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. So, for example, in the end, this man is going to come on the scene, right? Lord going to destroy him and stuff like that when he get back. But when he comes, like it says in verse 9, even him who's coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. So, like we read about in Revelation 13, this man that's going to present this mark of the beast. Look, they're getting all their power from Satan. The Lord going to allow that to happen because people don't want to accept the word. People don't want to accept the truth. So when this stuff hit the fan, a lot of people are going to fall for it. A lot of people are going to go for it. And the Lord is going to let you know that if that's what you want to believe, if you want to believe a lie, I'm going to set it up for you so you can be deceived by that lie alone. And with all deceivableness and unrighteousness and them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth that they might be saved. And for this cause, God shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. So if you want to believe that, if you want to sit up there, you want to look at all these images and worship all these images and stuff like that, false images, look, Lord say no images at all. But New Year's night in Brazil, look, and a lot of Israelites over there, But since you want to negate the truth, don't want to humble yourself to the truth, then the Lord going to just allow you. He going to send you strong delusion that you will believe a lie. Hopefully this has been of some help, edification to someone. And we hope that you can take this and add it to your arsenal to keep you girded and grounded in the faith. And until next week, peace to you all in Jesus' name.